today. We are going to do Proverbs chapter 9, and we also might go over to, if I can find where I wrote it down at. It's in Matthew. Okay, which one of these little sticky notes did I write it on? Thought I wrote it down. Oh, Matthew chapter 5 is what it is. So, I had it on my first sticky note up here. So hopefully we'll get to it. All right, first we're just going to head and read, take turns of reading in chapter 9 of Proverbs. And we're going to do, first we'll start with Dave and go to Josie and then me, and we'll do that throughout the whole thing. But we're going to read 6 verses at a time. So Dave, if you would read verse 1 through 6 in chapter 9.
King James Version. Wisdom hath builded her house. She hath hewn out her 7 pillars. She hath killed her beasts. She hath mingled her wine. She hath also furnished her table. She hath sent forth her maidens. She crieth upon the highest places of the city. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. As for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, Come, eat of my bread, and drink of the wine which I have mingled. Forsake the foolish, and live, and go in the way of understanding.
Okay. Josie?
Wisdom has built a palace supporting on 7 pillars, and has prepared a great banquet, and mixed wines, and sent out her maidens, inviting all to come. She calls from the busiest intersections in the city. Come, you simple ones, without good judgment. Come to wisdom banquet, and drink the wines that I have mixed. Leave behind your foolishness and begin to live. Learn how to be wise.
Okay. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out and set up her 7 perfect number of pillars. She has killed her beasts. She has mixed her spiritual wine. She has also set her table. She has sent out her maids to cry from the highest places of the town. Whoever is simple, easily led astray and wavering, let him turn in here. As for him who lacks understanding, God's wisdom says to him, Come, eat of my bread and drink of my spiritual wine, which I have mixed. Leave off simple ones, forsake the foolish and simple-minded, and live, and walk in the way of insight and understanding. Comments?
Well, that was simple, wasn't it?
I liked all 3 versions of that because they all kind of address different facets of what these 6 verses are saying, and it's awesome. It's it used to, the first time I ever read these verses, I thought, what on earth are they talking about in here? But she's preparing, as where it says she has killed her beasts, basically she's prepared meat for people to eat. She's made a banquet, like one of the versions said, and it's a celebration of what God has done for us, and you don't have to be highly intelligent, you don't have to be learned, although you can be. But to come, she's addressing those who are tempted to veer off the path of God, to come and join with them. It's kind of like when we go out witnessing to the lost souls. We're inviting them to come to the feast of the Lord, the spiritual feast. And that's what wisdom is doing something that's good for everybody, something that will help them stay on the right path. It'll lead them to the right path and help them stay on the right path. And I never understood that or quite got it. I get it more after hearing all three the versions, and there's more versions out there than just three. I don't remember how many they said there are, but there's a lot of different versions of the Bible. I think if we're studying the Word, studying different versions helps us to increase in our understanding of what's being said. And so I just think that's awesome. All right, let's go. Unless you got another, if anybody's got something.
Well, I had a dream once, and it was when Brother Jim was alive. And, well, he's alive, but I meant in the other realm.
In the natural, when he was in the natural.
Yeah. It was a dream about how I went to a banquet, and there was different ones sitting there, even a strange woman in the audience, in the waiting or sitting, and Jim went up. There was bright light ahead of us, and we were all sitting, but he went up into the bright light and come back with a platter of food. And the Lord told me it was a rare bird that he was serving. And he did serve rare food for everybody, rare meat. He had the meat of the word. And it was an interpretation of different things. But then there's, like in the audience, or congregation, I should say, there was other people there, and sitting on one side, and one of them was my husband, and he was sitting by this woman, this strange woman, which he was listening to her instead of Brother Jim. And he did. He was in the world a lot, and he'd even sit under Brother Jim, and he just didn't get it, Yeah, he got a little bit, but not. And so it was just, that was the interpretation of it, that Jim was serving up a rare bird, which was rare meat, which is not rare, but I meant it was done, it was cooked, but it was different than the religion, most religious stuff. And so I got it, and it was kind of like an interpretation of good, and Joy was there too. She was sitting next to me. It was weird. But there, that's all I remember who I knew, so at the time.
Yeah, and that rare can also have the meaning of unique, different. Mm-hmm. And what he was serving was different from the natural. Mm-hmm. And so it was special, like a diamond. Yeah.
He was bringing the platter up over his head like this.
Yeah.
He was gonna...
It was a heavenly food. Yes. Yeah. Yes, that
Mm-hmm.
is awesome. That's an awesome dream.
Yeah.
It's sad that your husband wasn't getting it, but it was awesome that it was there for his taking if he chose to do so. And that was nice. I don't know if that was comforting to you at the time, but it probably comforted you to know it's available for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand, why he was listening to the strange woman. And in fact, after I learned what the strange woman was, I didn't know. I had to do a little studying there. He was listening to the wrong voice and stuff.
It's another version of the serpent giving a different idea to people and selling them on it. Yeah. 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 Wow.
I also had a similar dream years ago
Mm-hmm.
about someone, and they were with a strange woman than their wife.
Mm-hmm.
And that strange woman could also be religion.
Oh,
Yeah.
Instead of the true word being preached by the Spirit, you're listening to religion, and they don't get it because they think Jesus. Most of the time, people think Jesus is somewhere else, and they're
Yeah.
waiting to go to heaven.
Yeah.
And what they don't get is the mystery of your salvation, which is Jesus in you.
yes.
That's what he didn't get, probably. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very good. All right. Now let's read verses 7 through 12.
He that reproveth a scorner getteth to himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth himself a blot. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. For by me thy days shall be multiplied, and the years of thy life shall be increased. If thou be wise, thou shalt be wise for thyself, but if thou scornest, thou alone shalt bear it.
Okay. Josie?
If you rebuke a mocker, you will only get a smart retort. Yes, he will snarl at you, so don't bother with him. He will only hate you for trying to help him. But a wise man, when rebuked, will love you all the more. Teach a wise man, and he will be the wiser. Teach a good man, and he will learn more. For the reverence and fear of God are basic to all wisdom. Knowing God results in every other kind of understanding. Wisdom will make the hours of your day more profitable and the years of your life more fruitful. Wisdom is its own reward, and if you scorn her, you hurt only yourself.
Yes. All right. He who rebukes a scorner heaps upon himself abuse, and he who reproves a wicked man gets for himself bruises. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate you. Reprove a wise man, and he will love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a righteous man one upright and in right standing with God, and he will increase in learning. The reverent and worshipful fear of the Lord is the beginning, the chief and choice part of wisdom. And the knowledge of the Holy One is insight and understanding. For by me, wisdom from God, your days shall be multiplied, and the years of your life shall be increased. If you are wise for yourself. If you scorn, you alone will bear it and pay the penalty. Comments?
Well, it sounds like has more meaning today than 60 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
If you people are wasting their time trying to tell certain people the truth because they'll just get upset and go off Uh,
That's kind of a similar to the throwing your pearls to the swine. When it's somebody that won't receive it, and kind of like arguing with somebody who's bound and determined not to be persuaded otherwise, and they insist on taking the wrong stand. And so they get offensive. They get defensive, actually. They get defensive over what you're saying. So they're not listening and absorbing what you're saying because they're too busy putting up an excuse for what they're doing. So yeah, kind of along that line.
I'm not sure, but I'm just wondering if it's also part of someone's mental capacity. You know, their education.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like it seems like there's more criminal activity in lower income areas of cities for some reason, and it could be various reasons. But even the well-educated are capable of crimes themselves. So, I mean, look who's running this country.
Yeah. It's crazy. And I'm sure in all that there's pride mingled in. Because it's a human nature underlying the human to think you know it all and that no one else can teach you anything because you know it all. It's a prideful thing. So, you know, it's kind of like we're wasting our time going to the prideful ones who aren't listening. We need to spend our time going to the ones who do listen. So, because they're not too proud to be teachable. They may know a lot, but they're not too proud to learn some more. Like a sponge, they want the more of God. Okay, let's read verses 13 through 18, and then we'll go to Matthew 5.
A foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple, and knoweth nothing. For she sitteth at the door of her house on a seat in the high places of the city, to call passengers who go right on their ways. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. And as for him that wanteth understanding, she saith unto him, Stolen waters are sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But he knoweth not that the dead are there, and that her guests are in the depths of hell.
Okay, Josie?
A prostitute is loud and brash, and never has enough of lust and shame. She sits at the door of her house or stands at the street corners of the city, whispering to men going by and to those minding their own business. Come home with me, she urges simpletons. Stolen melons are the sweetest. Stolen apples taste the best. But they don't realize that her former guests are now citizens of hell.
Wow. The foolish woman is noisy. She is simple and open to all forms of evil. She willfully and recklessly knows nothing whatever of eternal value. For she sits at the door of her house or on a seat in the conspicuous places of the town, calling to those who pass by, who go uprightly on their way. Whoever is simple, wavering, and easily led astray, let him turn in here. And as for him who lacks understanding, she says to him, Stolen waters, pleasures, are sweet because they are forbidden, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But he knows not that the shades of the dead are there, spectators, haunting the scene of the past transgressions, and that her invited guests are already sunk in the depths of the lower world, Hades, the place of the dead. Oh my goodness. That's the end of that chapter. A place to end. Any comments?
No.
Well, it sounds like at the beginning there, they're saying that she is simple and knowing nothing. So you could say, well, she didn't have an education, but then again, what kind of education? Today there's all kinds of education, but if you don't have the knowledge of the Lord that covers everything, then you're going to you're going to be a foolish man or woman getting into trouble, just going by what the flesh tells you, whatever feels good.
Josie, you got anything?
No. No.
Well, they pretty much, I think, pegged it. So let's go back up to verse 1, where it says, Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out and set up her 7, which is the number for perfection, pillars. Pillars are kind of like a column. Anyway, I was looking that up, and it doesn't really, lots of scriptures will explain itself pretty well, and this one does kind of in the backdoor type way, but there's scholars who have studied it, and some of them think it's referring to the 7 days of creation. Some of them think that it's well, let's go on ahead and go to this one. There's other ones. There's many different versions of different people and what they think about these 7 pillars and what they are. But the one I like the best, the ones that I read about, include the Beatitudes. So let's turn to Matthew chapter 5. We'll read about them before we go home. And we're going to, because this wise woman is building her home on the pillars. So she's not building her home on bad things. She's building her home on good things. She's a wise woman. These pillars represent kind of a foundation, something that holds up the roof or something to that effect. But in the Beatitudes, if I get to the right page, it will help. Matthew 5, and we're going to read verses 3 through 12. And so I'll start out with Dave.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye, when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely, for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you.
Okay, Josie. And of course, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's more than 7 there, but anyway, go ahead.
Down to what?
3 through 12.
Okay. Humble men are very fortunate. He told them, for the kingdom of heaven is given to them. Those who mourn are fortunate, for they shall be comforted. The meek and lowly are fortunate, for the whole wide world belongs to them. Happy are those who long to be just and good, for they shall be completely satisfied. Happy are the kind and merciful, for they shall be shown mercy. Happy are those whose hearts are pure, for they shall see God. Happy are those who strive for peace. They shall be called the sons of God. Happy are those who are persecuted because they are good, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. When you are reviled and persecuted and lied about because you are my followers, wonderful. Be happy about it. Be very glad, for tremendous reward awaits you up in heaven. And remember, the ancient prophets were persecuted too.
Okay. Blessed, happy to be envied and spiritually prosperous, with life, joy, and satisfaction in God's favor, salvation, regardless of their outward conditions, are the poor in spirit, the humble, who rate themselves insignificant, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed and enviably happy, with a happiness produced by the spirit experience of God's favor, and especially conditioned by the revelation of his matchless grace, are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed, happy, blithesome, my tongue's tied, joyous, spiritually prosperous, with life, joy, and satisfaction in God's favor and salvation, regardless of their outward conditions, are the meek, the mild, patient, long-suffering, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed and fortunate and happy and spiritually prosperous, in that state in which the born-again child of God enjoys his favor and salvation, are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, uprightness, and right standing with God, for they shall be completely satisfied. Blessed, happy, to be envied, and spiritually prosperous, with life, joy, and satisfaction in God's favor and salvation, regardless of their outward conditions, are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed, happy, enviably fortunate, and spiritually prosperous, possessing the happiness produced by the experience of God's favor, and especially conditioned by the revelation of his grace, regardless of their outward conditions, are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed, enjoying enviable happiness, spiritually prosperous, with life, joy, and satisfaction in God's favor and salvation, regardless of their outward conditions, are the makers and maintainers of peace, for they shall be called the sons of God. Blessed and happy and enviably fortunate and spiritually prosperous, in the state in which the born-again child of God enjoys and finds satisfaction in God's favor and salvation, regardless of his outward conditions, are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for being and doing right, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed, happy, to be envied, and spiritually prosperous, with life, joy, and satisfaction in God's favor and salvation, regardless of your outward conditions, are you when people revile you and persecute you and say all kinds of evil things against you falsely on my account. Be glad and supremely joyful, for your reward in heaven is great, strong, and intense. For in this same way people persecuted the prophets who were before you. Any comments?
Yes, describing what happens to those believers then and today.
I was trying to see if you had more to add to that, or if that's what are you doing?
Yeah.
Okay. Josie, did you have something?
No.
I just think it's neat that the songs that you guys contributed about the sanctuary and happy are the people whose God is the Lord. They went right along with this, and I think you just expressed what God put on your heart, didn't think anything about what we were studying today. But God knew what we were studying today, and it went right along with it. And the Beatitudes, there's more than just 7 of them, but the 7 main points are like pillars that hold up the roof. They're like the foundation of a building. It holds us up. And the first one was being humble. Second one, hates evil. Third one, meek and gentle. Fourth one, righteousness. Fifth one, merciful. Sixth one, pure, free from corruption. And the 7th one, peacemakers. And all said and done, you put all that together, and we can have the worst conditions in the world, but we can still be happy in the Lord because of all of this, or in spite of all the bad things in the world. It's kind of like the peace without understanding. When the natural man looks at us and what we're going through, they don't understand sometimes how we can still be happy and enjoy life. They don't understand that we enjoy life because we have peace in Christ Jesus, our personal Savior. They don't understand that we realize that He has things to teach us, and we are to be humble and meek. We aren't supposed to say, I deserve this and I deserve that. I've met a few people in the world that think somebody owes them for what they went through in life. And that's not the way God views it. So I just think that's neat. Now, the scholars, some of them mention the Beatitudes being part of those 7 pillars that is talked about in Proverbs. But some of them have other ideas. Like there's one said, foundation of the house of wisdom is fear of the Lord. Fear not meaning being scared of, meaning having respect for the Lord. Love, sharing, gospel invitation, nurturing, and wisdom from above. Now, some of them say it has to do with the 7 days of creation. Some say that it begins when a person properly respects and reveres God. And then it's built on top of that is instruction from God, knowledge from God, understanding from God, discretion, counsel, and reproof from God. And then there's one that came up with the pure, peaceful, gentle, reasonable, meaning friendly, and merciful, kind and helpful, fair, impartial, sincere, and truthful. And that's what the 7 pillars were. And let's see. Also, another one mentioned that the pillars represent the bridge between heaven and earth, and the pillars represent stability, and Christ enabled us to have stability in all this craziness. But a broken pillar represents death and mortality. So that was interesting, I thought. And then Excuse me. And then there was another scholar. He started out with the same one about fear. It starts with the fear of the Lord. That's the first pillar, meaning respect for God, respect enough to do His will regardless of what your own opinion was about it. And then the second one was truth, the knowledge of the Holy One. The third one was righteousness. Fourth one, humility. Fifth one was love. And of course, we know God is love itself. He's love to the uttermost. He's love that's more magnificent than any love any human being has really experienced, because He doesn't base His love on what people do or don't do. And then 6 was honor, and 7 was gratitude. So anyway, in studying this, I was truly blessed, and I would encourage you to study it sometime just to see what you come up with for the 7 pillars in your studies. You might, who knows, God may put some wisdom in you that these scholars never thought of. But anyway, it was a blessing for a chapter that I didn't really understand enough to be blessed by in days past, but by studying it just to teach this Bible study helped me to be blessed and see things I didn't see. And then y'all reading your versions and giving your input on where you see it, that was all such a blessing. And I love it when God uses us as a team to bless each of us. And I think that's awesome.